So, officially, welcome, Rajesh. I got to meet you personally at your own KM conference in Bali. It was just so great, and yeah, I loved being there. I loved listening to you and to Stuart. Stuart was his session already, or Stuart is going to join our conference as well.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So the stage is yours. Just start. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And to all of you in Germany and watching online, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the world, and of course, at what time you are looking, you're reading or you're watching this when it goes eventually online. And if you are reading or using this to go to sleep, I hope I help you. In that case, good night. Okay. So we've got a very interesting topic, and I was sharing with some members of the team earlier that my current intention was actually not to create any slides. So I did not want to create any slides, and I just wanted to have a conversation. But then some kind of panic kicks in, and it ends up that it became a bit edgy, and I started to create some slides. So I do have before the break, I had 15 slides. After the break, I have 18 slides. So there was an additional 3 slides added, but majority of it is a just in case kind of situation. I'm trying to share my screen, and it says that I need to have permission settings. Let me just check. Is that on my side or is that on your side? Okay. Looks to me like it's let me try it again, okay? Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, no worries, no worries. It's always a part and parcel of learning, and that's why we are supposed to have a technical break, a technical check, which we tried, but it kind of went haywire a bit. Okay, the system is telling me to restart my Teams, so I have to log out and I have to come back in again. Is that going to be an issue?
No problem. We will
Can
see
I
you in a
just do
minute.
that? I'm so sorry. I'll do that. Okay.
Okay, see ya. Ich wüsste nicht mehr. Es war ja auf deiner Seite. Wir haben unseren Speaker gerade verloren, aber er kommt bestimmt gleich wieder. Hi, Raj. Can't
Hello,
hear you.
I'm back again. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to share the screen again, and
Yes.
let's see. Okay, so our question is, I think the initial plan was not to have any video, not to have any slides, and that kind of makes it easier because then I was not supposed to have done the slides. But I guess that's how it goes. So let's see. I am a bit worried about not having slides, but let's try one more time.
So it's not working on your side. Do you have technical issues? He can't share his slides.
Tech support is coming, yes. Raj?
Oops, I'm sorry.
Yes, now you're back.
Now I'm back. I'm back for good now.
Very good. So the sharing, yeah, now it works.
Okay.
Maybe
fantastic.
a refresh to Singapore needed.
I know. It suddenly got surprised with the speed that I was having because connectivity has been a challenge for me in Jakarta. So I'm going to be sharing with all of you about how AI has actually changed some of the things that we do as an organization in Jakarta. So we're running a couple of projects in Jakarta, and we started to explore the use of AI in a non-traditional manner. Now, I will be sharing some of that traditional what we use AI for, but this is something that for me was kind of mind-blowing because what took me a good 3 months, 3 months of work was reduced to 3 days of work. And this was a fantastic change. It's a bit radical, but it was kind of fun as well. So
Just Rajesh, one question. Is it right that we only see like your points from ChatGPT, or should there be a slide, like PowerPoint slide?
Which one are you seeing?
We see
see.
ChatGPT.
Ah, okay. Give me a minute. That is my script.
Yeah, I thought that.
Okay, let me see this. Where are my slides? I've been working on a laptop for too many days. There you go. Just give me a second.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Great. This is fantastic thing about being at home is I now have three screens, and I used to work in Jakarta with just a laptop, so it's been mind-blowing. So okay, now we're back, and what I wanted to share with you about is actually what we have seen change, right? With regards to how AI has come in and how AI has made a difference for us in terms of the work that we do with our project team. So here we go. Let's see. Whoops. So co-creation has been something that has actually already changed how we have been working. I think in today's workforce, especially after COVID, that value of, I guess after COVID, people started to understand that communications is important again, because this time they were separated, they didn't take it for granted. And the ability of getting everyone online meant that we could work from anywhere in the world, just like how we operate or how we are today. So prior to me, you were speaking to Hong Kong, and right now you're speaking to Singapore, and after me, if it's Stuart, you're speaking to Australia. How knowledge work is now distributed in so many areas, and we are no longer bound by geography. That's one of the main big reasons that whole idea of co-creation has taken up more effort and created more impact. So the concept of AI has actually changed. How do we share information? How do we learn from each other? Now, you saw my screen and you saw my ChatGPT conversation. So what we did in ACES is we created our own modular system within ChatGPT. So using ChatGPT as a background, what we did is we have added all of our documents. We secured a space. We added all our documents. All our project work is in there, right? And right now, for example, if tomorrow we have a tender that comes up, and what we'll do is we'll load up the tender documents into the GPT, and we'll actually ask, all right, let's start creating a tender in the way that ACES does it, right? And what it does is it looks at all our previous tenders, and it goes on the projects that we have won first. So it looks at all the projects that we've won first, and it creates that content of that tender. So submitting a tender used to take us about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of work, reading and understanding. Right now, we get the frame done within an hour. And then we spend a couple of days brainstorming and looking at the problem and saying, what can we do, right? So that extraction of tacit knowledge, right? Where we go back and we think, what were the things that we did? How did we do with this? What were the problems that we faced? As long as it is documented, we have it. We are able to extract it. So suddenly, how we share and how we learn today has a lot of creativity in it. Now, I use the word creativity very loosely, because actually what it has given me is given me a lot of brain space. I'm not saturated, because it has already extracted from our past documents what worked well for us. Yep. But that concept or reaching that position. So we have been working with our AI for about 3 years right now. And to be very honest with you, the first 1 year, I was very skeptical. I'm not a believer, right? So I was not a believer. So the first year, everything that it gave, I checked 100%, everything. Yep. But after a while, when I started seeing that, hey, it's using exactly what I wrote, then I started to get a bit more trust into it. So number one is that the Chat GPT or the AI that you use, if you own it, right, which means you know the limitations, and you have that element of, I'm going to trust this GPT, not 100%, right? I'm going to trust this GPT, let's say 60%, right? To build the kickstart that process for me, right? And then I will put in my 40% of free brain space to customize it, right, to what it's going to need. That's when adoption will happen. So I think in today's world, we have seen this concept. And I think co-creation builds both this concept of trust, the concept of ownership, right? Not only in terms of the use of AI, but also in terms of um, what we call this, how knowledge is being shared and knowledge is being transferred as well. So the whole concept of knowledge management deals with this. And when AI comes into the picture, it works the same, right? So in today's landscape, what we have is we have post-COVID, and post-COVID AI it was still almost like an introduction. It was there. You had things like your chatbots and things like that. But that era after that was when we saw a bit more conceptualized change in how knowledge is, I will say, discussed, right? Um, even in the university where I teach KM strategy, right? I have specifically told my students, you can refer to documents prior to COVID, but let's look at concepts all post-COVID because it has changed, right? The theory, yep, it's a bit there. But if we are still looking at systems prior to COVID, then I'm quite sad that we are not moving. So at least in NTU, we have already started using VR and AR as per the conversation that we had before this, right? To get that experiential learning in place. Today, we don't really say we have a repository. It's more of an ecosystem because there's so much of sharing, there's so much of co-creation that even documents today are no longer termed as a document because it's a cycle. So in one of the clients' work that we are doing right now, we are creating for them operational guideline, right? And because it's an operational guideline and the concept of knowledge management comes in, which means that we're going to put in best practices. And if we run an exercise or an event and there's something that we have learned, we are going to add it to the document, right? Therefore, it is no longer a document. It is now a living knowledge, a piece of living knowledge. It grows, right? Now, is this a new concept? No, because prior to COVID, we just called it your KM life cycle, right? It's about new knowledge. It's about knowledge that has been redundant. You remove it, right? You can archive it or you can put it in your heritage. I was in the Philippines last year, and I was with one organization that in their standard operating procedures, they still had how to change a typewriter ribbon, right? It was still there. Now, looking at the room, I can just guess that looking at all of you here, many of you would likely not have used a typewriter, right? Let alone you all look very young, so you may have not used a typewriter, and you may not have changed that ribbon. I'm talking about the real traditional one, not the electric one, right? But it was still part of their SOP, which is just taking up space. Archive it. We don't need it, right? So that concept of repositories is no longer about storage. It's now about how it can grow documents, grow the knowledge, and start to have that concept of sharing and using, right? So with such changes that are happening, then there's a need for us to ensure that as we are using AI or we are co-creating knowledge, excuse me, we have this ability. I'm sorry.
Bless
We
you.
have this ability. Thank you. We have this ability for change because change is happening so fast. If all of us in the room go in and change a document, then where is that source, the original source of the document? So much so that today, my files, we as a team, in our shared folders, we create one file which is called master copy, and that is called draft zero, right? And then from there, every time we make a change, we add it by date. So we create a new folder and we put the date and then we go in because client may change their mind and they may go back. Oh, 2 weeks ago we talked about this. And because it's changing so fast, we actually store one document by date every day until we close the project, and then we only keep the master copy and the final from where we start to where we end. So we need to have that fallback system as well. And that's how the landscape is changing. So we talked about this, how from KM we are moving to co-creation. What is the old KM about? What is the new KM about? And how things have changed. But the honest fact is, it's all about conversations. The entire ecosystem now is very dominantly based on communications, and it's rightfully so because we all know that knowledge management or managing knowledge is people, processes, and technology, and the major part of that percentage of thought is on people, right? So that's how we need to see it. Now, what is the benefit of AI then? So AI allows us to firstly free up a bit of brain space. Secondly, it enables us to link, right? Where the knowledge is. Now, one of the things that I really like to do, and I use, and you may have seen it in my GPT earlier, what I do is I just type ideas. I just keep typing it. So when I create my slides, I don't have slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just write everything down. So it's like a notebook. And if I can show you how it was prior to this, I don't know if you can. This was my presentation, right? And what I did then later on when I got a bit worried, I said, okay, I'll just key all of this in, and that's it, right? And then organize it in a flow that is going to be smooth for an audience of whoever they are. Then it organizes the flow for me. Then I have a look at it and I'll say, okay, yes or no, let's go. And I rearrange it to my style again. Now, of course, because of that, there are patterns and ideas that the AI that I've been using now for about 3 years has understood and learned a bit about my character and my chain of thoughts, and helped me with that. Now, when I say speeds discovery, was that example I gave about how we are creating our tenders, right? Um, it's taken away a lot of that mundane task, right? And there are standard pages, which is your company profile, your speaker, your consultant profile, blah blah blah. But then once it comes to let's say we're doing strategy building for another organization, hey, let's put a case study on this thing to case one, case two, case three, extract it from these three cases. That's it. And then we'll go in and we'll just do the supervising. Now, what's very important is this concept of human in the loop. So, while I want to say AI has um, been a miracle worker for me, right? It's relentless in work. I also want to be very careful with the amount of data that we put in. The AI has proven to get tired, right? And if you have used it long enough with too many documents, it has proven to go wrong, right? And forget the prompts that you have written. Now, on a personal note, what we practice is no more than 5 uploads. So if we have to upload documents, we don't put more than 5, because after that we notice that it breaks the chain of thought, right? It gets haywire, it starts thinking. Now, what we have also done is we've told the AI to only look inwards. That means it will not search the World Wide Web. We only want it to look within our space, right? That's one way that we get to control that as well. Now, once it's churned out, human in the loop is very important. There's no way any of us is going to lose our job, because this human in the loop is now one of the most important parts about using AI. Yeah, and I feel that is where if we have a traditional operator, that person has moved up now to a supervisor, right? It's supervising the AI while it's learning. Um, how does it help in terms of learning culture? So firstly, we have to ask ourselves, what is sustainability? Now, the world knows sustainability has, natural resources being depleted. Yeah, deforestation, and the aim is to make it sustainable so that ecosystem is balanced. It is very much similar for us in the KM world in terms of your organization. When we can identify critical knowledge, and if that critical knowledge is at risk, what are we doing to make sure that we keep it in the system? Now, knowledge is always known has to be available at the right place, the right time, in the right medium, and of course, free if it's possible, but minimal cost if we need to, right? That's knowledge that's sustainability to a knowledge professional. And I think when we bring in the concept of AI, we have to remember this. The aim of AI is also to make sure that knowledge is sustainable. And that's where extracting tacit knowledge, making sure that we have proper documentation, things like those things, really the things that I don't like to do, taxonomy, getting related links from this to this, building that knowledge graph, that network, right? And then generating recommendations. So when I put new options, I really mean recommendations. However, point one, point two, point three seems to be working well. Point four is where we have to be very careful. There cannot be a concept of blind trust, right? So I stress again this concept of human in the loop because it is necessary as we co-create. And today, co-creation of knowledge can be you and the AI. You are co-creating knowledge, right? And you play an important part in making sure that we have that diversity of our people, of thoughts, inclusivity, inclusiveness of everyone who's in our organization, right? And making sure that results that come out is equitable, right? So that DEI concept today must be applied by human as well. So again, I can't stress enough about human in the loop, right? Now, is AI going to really matter for us in that KM field? Now, from personal experience, I can tell you definitely it works very well for me, right? It has surpassed my initial expectations of what I expected it to do, right? In terms of translating my notes, and I wish I could show you. Maybe I'll show you. I'll show you an example later on when I stop. Is this system that I use to capture my meetings, right? I use Plot. And what Plot AI does is it actually records my entire conversation, transcribes it, and then it formats it into a way that I want it to. That's how I've used it to minimize my thinking to a certain extent, right? Or to scope my thinking. Uh, I think it has definitely worked towards making information so much easier. Now, does it support better decisions? I think if we look at decision making, not as a one point concept, but has a control tower. That means there are so many different elements, and then it's coming up into a control tower where your control tower is making that decision. AI works fantastically, right? Never to forget, my caveat is there must always be human in the loop because there are risks and there are limitations. Biasness, we have the dependence on systems, right? Um and honestly, I'm very worried about people getting a bit carried away because it did happen. So in one of the case studies I'm going to talk to you about, it did happen. They got carried away, right, with AI. There's a lot of issues with ethics and privacy in terms of what kind of information can be shared, and that is why we insisted that ours needs to be a closed system, uh, that we don't let the AI go outside of our environment, right? And privacy, yep, so I covered that. So coming back to that need for us to talk about people, process, technology, we covered trust. Processes was about governance. We have workflows, we have rules where we have identified roles and the relationships that we play, and of course that tools that actually support, right? So the technology, in my opinion, plays only 10%. So even today with AI coming in, I will not divide my pie into 33, 33, 33. I'm still going with 70% is people, 20% are processes, 10% is how technology can help. Now, looking at the line below, then you know that in terms of people, it's really about knowledge flow within your organization. And that's how the learning happens, right? It's about the flow of knowledge, the sharing, making sure there's no stress, right, in between. Um, the processes help us do the capturing and the reuse. And of course, technology then helps us look at how the data is shared and is connected, right, with all other systems. So if you can get all your systems there, then you have that one single point of truth. Yeah. So regional project one, this is what I wanted to share with you about. And it was, let me see, I have one and I have two. Yep, everything is here. Okay. So this project is very interesting. It deals with animals. That's the hint I can give you. All right. It deals with animals, but they are a large project. They're based in, they organized in Southeast Asia, and they do have many different disciplines. So you can imagine with animals, you have someone who's looking after one kind, one species, another species, another species. There were a lot of expertise involved, a lot of siloed work, because subject matter experts, you can have one subject matter who is just focused on canine, right? And then you have another one who's focused on something else, reptiles or things like that. So what they did is they all built their own repositories. And when we started to come in and they wanted to explore building a KM strategy, um, it was very difficult because everyone was spread across. Wanting to get them together in one room was challenging. But eventually, when we did, there were so many things that were different. There were so many different styles that were being used. There was no standardization, right? Um, and therefore, trying to get lesson learned to be shared among these groups seemed irrelevant, because the lesson learned about, they kept it very siloed. Number one. Number two, what can I learn from canines? I deal with reptiles, so even getting into COPs became challenging. Now what we did then is we looked at all their past reports, and we decided, let's create a AI COP, right? Let's get whatever we did for ourselves, let's do it for them. Yep. So we did that for them. We built this thing up, and out of nowhere, right? Because of the nature of work they were doing, one project sometimes lasted 3 years. There was a lot of lost data. A lot of field data was forgotten, was lost. We were able to get the AI to extract it, right? And what we did is we went through an exercise of playing. Uh, it's a game called Call My Bluff, right? Where we tell you a couple of questions. One of it is fake. One of it is a fake answer. And basically, we wanted the staff to start calling the bluff of the AI. So they tested the system, right? And it went through a series of tests. We tested the system for about 2 weeks with series of questions, um, to churning out reports and comparing it with reports that were already being done, just to build the trust. Now, that was one of the projects that we did. Um, what we reminded them is garbage in, garbage out. So if you are going to keep on putting in unstructured data, if you're putting in incomplete sentences, the AI is going to have a challenge. But you have to remember that you are still the experts, right? This is just a little helper. So this is an elf. This is like Santa's elf, right? You have to still be in the loop. We did that. It worked well, but it brought us to something that we had with a second project. Now, um, this was the one where, because of the different workflows within another organization, this was a government organization, right? What was the biggest hindrance was actually getting staff to change their workflows. Now, we dealt with this issue called if it's not broken, don't fix it. And because these staff were many times the subject matter experts, right? They all had this resistance that the AI was going to take over them. So we decided to get how build the governance. We co-created the governance, right, of the AI system. We got both of them. We got members of the organization in, and we talked about what kind of training, how should we create that training, what is the governance that we need to do, what are the improvements that will help when we do such a tagging, right, of your metadata, of your document system, create auto summary. So almost like a little Google search, right? If you search for a topic, there are a couple of documents, and then there's a little summary. Now, at ACES, we call this we call it Aura, right? It's our document management system, using the concept of AI and being able to do that tagging, auto tagging, as well as auto summarizing for you. Now, once people actually saw their inputs being churned out by the AI, that is when the trust came in. And that was when we were able to actually see that take up soar. So now, another challenge that we had within this organization was the number of platforms that they had. They were not all on SharePoint. They had SharePoint. They also use Monday.com. They also use Zoho Project, and they also used Google. So they were like having a piece of everything. Um, Integration was so challenging for us, right? They did not want to have, again, that mentality. If it's not broken, we don't need to fix it. It works well for us. Now, I must say, we were unsuccessful in getting them, in convincing them to all go on one platform. We didn't pass that one, right? But that fear of AI taking over their jobs was reduced, right? And when we did a check on governance, right? Um, Previously, we had a lot of weak data on how governance was. Governance was very weak, but now that it was co-created by them, right? It became a bit more. We were seeing less, signs of uh, what unstructured data, more signs of weak governance. So we saw that having a bit of an improvement. That was something that worked well for us. Now, before I go to the next slide, right? How we made it work. I would like to let's see, I have about another 28 minutes, so likely another 7 minutes or 15 minutes, right? Around there. Uh, One thing that really worked, and I'll give you an example here. We decided that with the KM team, we wanted to build a KM strategy, right? Now, one thing that we did is we interviewed everybody. We recorded all their interviews, and this interviews was a 90-minute interview, right? From leadership right down to their assistant director. So in total, we interviewed 14 people, right? Um, and then using our findings of the interview, we actually created documents of every interview, which includes the transcript and includes a pattern, right? And one of the interview questions was, what would you like to have in your KM strategy? Now, using all their inputs, we actually held a workshop. So this workshop was done in 1.5 days. And our aim of this workshop was to create a KM strategy for this organization. Now, prior to this, building a KM strategy is 3 months of work. 1.5 months is just discovery, and then the other 2 weeks, 3 weeks is about building that strategy, the methodology, and then the last one is the acceptance, right? What I like to share, and I'm very proud of this, is actually in that 1.5 days. So imagine the half a day is just introduction, blah 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 blah. The next 8 hours, we built a KM strategy, a KM policy, and we had on their SharePoint system using Power BI, a automated lesson learned system. Now, everything was draft 1, not draft 0, draft 1, which means in 8 hours, with the intention of just building one document, we built 2 documents and a system amongst 14 people using AI. And this was because we had all their inputs beforehand. We churned it out, we printed it, and we provided them all these copies, and we told them, let's amend it. Let's amend it, and then you present to each other what you think it should be. They did it. And then all we needed to tell them was, this is just a draft. This is not the actual one. This is your draft which you created. Now, what you need to do is you need to work on this and improve it. So what used to take us 3 months, we were able to do it. I mean, if you count the interview times and the hours we took to transcribe, the hours we took to sense make the data and then do our first churn, I'll say what used to take us 3 months, we were able to do in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks maximum. That is the amount of time that we saved, right? And what made it work is because we got them to co-create the design. We got them to see the AI tool churning out the draft of how it will be based on their inputs, right? So getting them familiar, build a bit of trust, training them how to use it, build that confidence. And to ensure that they don't use it so loosely, we make sure we enforce that this is a draft and this is not the final copy. We kept saying that, like how I keep repeating human in the loop, right? The governance needs to have roles set out clearly, right? But that was our winning formula. And as long as we continue this and make sure that there is continuous learning that's being shared, that's what's going to work for us. So we do have some risk areas like critical knowledge, like dependencies, how we need to ensure that data is kept in a master copy, like what I practice, and the human backup as well, right? Which is my notebook. I guess we can see and build how about response, right? So when we talk about knowledge resilience, in terms of how the future of knowledge is going to be, I think what that concept is about anticipating our risks and anticipating what are the losses that we can have before it happens, right? DEI and KM, I'm a big fan of it. And it has to have accessibility for everyone. It must be simple. Uh, the chain of thoughts has to be clear, has to be transparent, and we need to have feedback, because when people on the ground start picking it up and start using it, we need to get the feedback, because as we ensuring it's inclusive is just as much as not just my thoughts but everyone's contribution and thoughts as well, and that's going to help us, yeah, to make it more balanced. So this concept of moving from efficiency to resilience is really about how we can look at the purpose of the AI, right? And bring it not as a replacement, but with the intention of continuity, intention of freeing up my mind to ensure that you have more thought in that entire process. Um, I think the process needs to be reviewed, and therefore human in the loop again. We must be able to connect people and AI. Yeah, it has been proven to work. Yeah, so with AI, and if we are able to use it with a motto of building that knowledge hub within our organization, then I think these principles are important, because AI plus co-creation is actually going to equate to how sustainable knowledge is going to be within your organization. So I do have a couple of key takeaways which I would like to share with you. Number one is AI is not a replacement. It is not here to take over anybody, and I don't think it can, not yet, right? Uh, I think it is a catalyst. It's something like what we call a memory jogger, right? So it's that little tap it gives you and tell you to continue breathing, yeah, so that you can start freeing up your mind for more creative work, more ideas, personalization, right? It gives some purpose, right? But it has to be co-created, right? If we want to see the kind of adoption rates, we want to see the kind of trust, then it has to be co-created. And I think one of the things that's very important is the need of governance when it comes to AI. It can't be a free for all, because that is what is going to make it ensure that the knowledge within us is sustainable. And the next part is about getting inclusivity, right? Your DEI concepts in there, so that we can all make sure that we address whether it's risk, or we have enough risk countermeasures in the design of the AI that we do. So in closing, I think to build a resilient KM system is a responsible KM system, right? And when knowledge is co-created, it stays alive, whether it's being co-created with you and somebody else, or whether it's being co-created with you and the AI. So I think this term, knowledge management, has outlived its time, right? I think the next phase of what we should be talking about, or this term that we should be using, is no longer knowledge management. I think it's now knowledge sustainability, because I think no one, at least among many of us, not many of us want to go out there and reinvent the wheel, right? Many of us are looking at the wheel and we are going to modify, copy, modify, and paste, right? Or improve, depends on whichever way you're looking at it. So I think with that concept, then co-creating intelligent knowledge system is what knowledge sustainability is going to help us do, and AI is going to play a big part of it. So that's what I have to share.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very interesting and exciting session. Thank you for sharing your project insights with us. We have 5 minutes left. Are there any questions in the room? Online, any questions? Okay, I have a, yeah.
Thank you very much for this great talk. I was wondering whether in your work you've come across this issue that the knowledge that AI draws from is not representative of all the knowledge that is in the world, because there are entire knowledge systems that are not based on documented knowledge, explicit knowledge. Is that something you're dealing with in any major way? And if so, how are you dealing with it?
I can, sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Oh, my name is Maria. I work for IUCN,
Maria.
the International Union for Conservation of Nature.
Maria, almost every solution that the AI gives us is not accurate. I will say that accuracy, if you ask me, even when internal looking AI, yeah, that means it's just looking at our documents and not outside, I will not give that accuracy to anything above 80%. The reason is because it's clouded in your thoughts. Now, the only way you're going to get something that is super accurate and super close to your solution is the prompt that you use. Now, prompting itself is a different whole set of rules there. So I think if we can look at your prompt is actually your markers, your OB markers, yeah, your left hand edge of your right hand edge, right? Now, your prompt has to tell the AI exactly where within that edge I want you to do. So you could try doing this, and in my KM strategy class, I do a bit of prompting because they can use AI in KM strategy for their master's program. What I tell them to do is, let's ask, if you have an AI with you right now, you should go in and say, give me the recipe for a muffin, to bake a muffin, right? And that recipe will come out. Now, once you put limitations to the clause, assume the role of a world-class Michelin chef baker. You are tasked to create the best muffin, right? Then you said you are not able to, it has to be dietary friendly, it has to be lactose tolerant, lactose free, it's for diabetics, blah, 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 blah. And then you tell it to create the muffin. The entire, I will say that at least 30 to 40% of the recipe would be different. So yes, you will get inaccuracies, and that is also because of your prompts. Your prompts do not give it limits. Yes, you will have to have checks and balance. We cannot take that AI generated conversation has gospel truth. I have not, this is my opinion. I have not reached that stage that I'm going to say that, voila, perfect answer. I think no, I will still go back and is this going to work with this personality? You know, because you are working with clients, and if you're working with employees, you're working with employers, you are working with something that AI isn't able to capture yet, and that is personalities. Now, many organizations are actually they lean towards the character of whoever's leading the organization. So that itself tells you that unless that person is going to be very, straight in the concept of thinking, it's all personality driven. If I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, I don't like your idea. Yeah. So it's not going to work so well. So that's my thoughts, Maria. I hope I helped.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other?
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
I would love to ask several questions, but unfortunately the time is over. So maybe
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
there's one left.
Okay.
Okay, we have one more question.
And yeah, you talked about a tool you are using. I think something about Plot or something where you're recording all your lessons and it helps you to summarize it and do everything. What is the correct name of the tool?
PLAUD. I'm trying to log in right now because I'm supposed to show you a sample. I wanted to do a little demo for you. I'm not in sales, okay? So, but I wanted to show you what it has done for me. And very quickly, I'm going to be sharing my screen again. All right. At this point of time, let me see. I'll just find something that is not. There you go. Alrighty. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So you do have a couple of files that I've recorded here, and I'm going to go and try and do this, all files, and I'm going to go down to one of these later ones, which had something like this. So let me see this one. Let me see if I got this. So I have a knowledge value chain that I created. So I created my own knowledge value chain. It's not the 2005 one, it's a 2025 one. It's not online yet, but I gave it, oops, this is captured in Bahasa Indonesia. So let me find you another one that's in English. There you go. So I gave it a prompt, and that prompt was I want it to be aligned. So I do have a prompt created in the backend, and I said that it records the entire conversation. So if you look at the transcript, this is the transcript, right? So you can see that it's just conversations. Okay, don't worry, I've got the another sessions to go. Everything, right? Raw transcript here. Now, what I said is I wanted it to be based on a certain concept. Now I kind of closed that down just now. Where was I? There you go. Visualization alerts. Okay, nope. Oh, I flipped the chart. Okay, there you go. All right, so just raw data, raw conversation, but because I created the prompt and I want it to be aligned to knowledge application and knowledge creation, this is what it told me in terms of innovation, adaptive practices, under creation, refinement. So the entire conversation has already been summarized based on the way that I want it to be, right? So this is what it looks like for me, right? Where the challenges are, and it immediately tags everything for me. So I don't take minutes anymore. I actually put the device on the table, and I'm just looking at the person in her eyes, and I'm listening to her. We're just having that conversation, right? And everything is being recorded on the back end for me. And this is what it's told me. So if I can do this, right? So oops, too big. Let me get it a bit more friendly. So here you go. In terms of, let's just look at like this. So in terms of challenges, let me just close the rest so that we have a bit more space. There you go. These are enablers. Okay. So interview with whoever, these were the things that is tagged it on. In terms of challenges, these are all the challenges that has been highlighted in whether it's interdepartmental coordination, whether it's ERP systems and things like that. So everything is there, and then it tells us what is the workaround that the person used, right? And it's all being done. So that is how it works for me. And what we now go and do is we listen to the transcripts. So the way that we work, we listen to the transcript now. And from that transcript, we are looking at the mind map and the notes, and then we are correcting it. Whether it's what the AI carried out, what the AI picked up, is it the same as what the person meant when she said it, right? Or he said it. And that's how we still keep the human in the loop. But one of the beauty is we interviewed, I think about 6 people, right? At the end of the 6th interview, we actually merged the 6 interviews into one. So we merged these 6 files into one, and then it consolidated everything for us. Now, if you have done transcribing and you've done interviews, you know how long that will take. This was in a question of 30 minutes. It finished everything. We did spend, because it was me, right? We did spend another 2 or 3 hours making sure that what it did was right? We double checked everything, but the hard work is done. It's just brain work now. And that's where we became, we freed up so much of things. So that's how I use Plod. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. One question regarding the point you said. So you merged the 6 interviews, and did I get it correctly that the AI gave you suggestions for a KM strategy based on the interviews? Is that right?
No, it actually it identified what the interviewee's workaround was. So you might not tell me in your conversation with me, we might talk about the challenge, and then maybe sometime down the conversation we talk about how you overcome challenges and things like that. So it identified that as a workaround, because one of my prompts that I wanted to do is to make sure that we identify what challenges are and what were their workarounds. So it kind of puts it in there in place. It's not suggesting. It's not suggesting. I do not want it to suggest.
Okay.
Right. So it identified the challenge and then it grouped. So let's go back to traditional way of doing it, right? What will we do? We are all in a group. I'll give you Post-it pads. Tell me what are your 3 big challenges, and then everyone writes 3. We put it on the whiteboard. You guys go for coffee. I'll take all of the Post-its. I try to collect them, and we identify. Let's group this together. This is challenge 1. Group this together. This is challenge 2. Everything is based on what I'm saying and what I'm thinking, right? And your Post-it pads. Today I don't need to do that, because as I'm talking to you and we are identifying it, it's recording based on my prompt, right? That is that caveat. The system can do some things for you based on inbuilt systems. But when you want specialization, in this case, I loaded my KVC requirements as the prompt. I would like you to categorize every conversation based on this, right? So I created a custom prompt for myself, right? And the device is just it's just it's just a little device that you can put in your room and have it. There you go. Whoops, where is it? Oh, there you go. That's the device. That's it. If you can see it, right? That's it. It's so fantastic that if you can see it now, it's at the back of my phone. And I'm not selling it. I hope you're not recording this, but we can have a phone conversation and it can record the phone conversation when you're not on speaker. So my meetings are being recorded. I have suddenly become so attentive to details because it's being it's minutes are being captured for me, and we do not take minutes anymore. 0. That's it.
Crazy. Wow.
That's how the concept of learning has changed and how AI is partnering us. Yep.
Okay.
In case you want to buy the system, make sure you say my name. No, I'm joking.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rajesh. Let's wrap up now.
Okay.
Greetings to
Take care.
Singapore.
Thank you so much. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good lunch.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.